The Dave LewAllen Podcast is sponsored by Sherm's Candy, a Michigan-based company that specializes in awesome-tasting candy that's in the shape of Michigan. And welcome back to the Dave LewAllen Podcast. We cover sports stories, newsmakers, and difference makers in our communities and across the state of Michigan. We're on YouTube and all of the other podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and the rest. Happy to have you with us today. Please give us a like, share this with your friends as we continue to grow the podcast. Happy to have a couple of special people with me today to talk about a special event coming up. Dave Lewis, former Red Wings player, assistant coach, and head coach, and the very first guest on the Dave LewAllen Podcast is back for a return visit. Appreciate that. And Joe Neville with the G.H. Pastor Foundation for Kids is here as well. And we are here to talk about the Red Wings alumni game against the Montreal Canadiens coming up on March the 15th at the Big Boy Arena in Fraser. It's going to be great. It's going to be something that all hockey fans will enjoy, to be sure. But first of all, thank you both for being here. Thank you for helping us spread the word of this opportunity for hockey fans to come together again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. I never thought I'd be back after that first one. And here I am again.
It was a hit.
Yeah.
You know, we should turn this into the Dave and Dave podcast.
Oh,
actually.
my gosh.
But
That'd be something.
But I don't know if you want to come back that often. But it's great to have you here. And Joe as well. And Joe, this is kind of your baby. I mean, you know, making this happen, pulling all this together. And it's, you know, two of the original six teams again. The Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens. This has a chance, again, to be something pretty special.
Well, to correct you, it's not my baby. It's I just happen to be fortunate to kind of, quote unquote, be the face of it, which is kind of scary. But there's so many, and I mean so many people that have a vital role in making this happen. Because when this first came about, I just thought when you say hockey game, it's just a hockey game. You get two teams, you go out and play. But there's so much more to this than I had ever imagined. And I mean, there's actual segments to it, like the production portion of it, because it is broadcast live on DIV, and then CKLW is going to be with us this year to broadcast it. And then the prep will have it on their YouTube channel. And just that section alone is an enormous undertaking. I mean, you're in the business, so you know what that's like. I have no clue. And I mean, it's really detailed and it's really in depth. And I just learned a term over the summer called run of show, which I had no idea what that was. And then WDIV asked for a run of show, what my grand theme was, or what my wish list was, my dream for the production. So I wrote out this thing and I said, broadcast the game, make it look nice or whatever. And she goes, no, you're misunderstanding what run of show means. I want it down to the minute. Yeah. What is going to happen? And I go, you got to be kidding me. And it's like 2-3 pages. I ended up, it wasn't just me, but we created this run of show that's 2 to 3 pages long, because it is a 5-hour event, because there's actually 2 games. And just for the production portion alone, 3 pages of okay, when do you want everybody to arrive? And then when they arrive, what are they doing? Yeah. And then where do they go, et cetera, et cetera. So just that portion of it is amazingly difficult. And then you have the hockey, and then you have the venue. And I'm going, wow, I really bit off way more than I can chew. And I just started surrounding myself with all the professionals in their respective fields. And man, it made life so much easier.
And Dave Lewis, it was easier as a player and a coach, because all of that stuff was taken care of by others, and you just had to show up and play.
Exactly.
And look good.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that all the time. But I have to give him credit. The first 2 games were learning curves, and the logistics of it all, getting players traveling in from all over North America and the world, basically, some of them come from Europe, arrangements, making sure that they're picked up, the flights, the equipment, the ordering of jerseys, the locker room group that he has taking care of everybody, the hotel, the accommodations. I can relate to that because I've done it my whole life, but it's for somebody new to do it. It's a big task.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the best qualities of hockey players is that they enjoy this kind of production. They enjoy being together. They enjoy doing it for charity, the camaraderie on both sides. You're walking back and forth in the locker room, talking to players that either you played with at one time or you've definitely played against. You shake hands, you tell stories. You might have, as Mickey would say, an adult beverage in hand. And give credit to Joe and his staff. They've pulled it off twice, and this one sounds like it's going to even be bigger and better.
All right, we'll get into more of the details and the who, what, when, and why, but let's get to the who in terms of the players. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the Red Wings alumni against the Montreal Canadiens alumni.
Correct.
For this game on March the 15th at Big Boy Arena in Fraser. Who's playing? Who are fans going to be able to come out and see on the ice that day in this alumni game?
Well, the way we structured it is we like to have like a really immersive fan experience for the hockey portion, not just the things that are going on in the venue, the arena. So what we came up with, we want to have all the decades represented as much as we can, and we want to have a nice array of players from the oldest to the youngest, to the ones who have recently retired. So we do 4 lines and 4 sets of D and 2 goalies for both teams. So that's about 22 guys. And then in the benches, I don't know, they seem kind of small for the 22 guys.
But it's called intimate.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
That's the term we're going to use. So we go as far back as Red Berenson, and I spoke with him yesterday. He's actually going to be doing your podcast. Did you ever get with Red?
No, but we will. We'll connect.
So Red Berenson is the oldest, and then it goes to Mickey, and then we have that era of the late 70s through the maybe early 90s, and then the 90s to the 2000s, and then that's how we broke it down.
All right, I need names.
So we have
Red
Mickey,
Berenson,
we got Mickey Redmond, Darren McCarty, Dino Cicerelli, Darian Hatcher, local boy, Drew Miller, Kevin Miller,
John Ogrodnik.
How can I forget? John Ogrodnik. And then we have some boys coming in from all over the place, like Eric Cole will be playing, Aaron Ward, Brad Marsh is coming back. Spoke with him yesterday. Brad May's coming in for the first time. Jakob Kindle. Jimmy Howard is coming.
DeKaiser.
Danny DeKaiser. What is
good representation?
Yeah,
certainly,
it really
as you
is.
say over
Generation.
the decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for the Canadians, who are we talking about there?
We have Lucien Deblois, Elaine Cote, Brian Scrudlin, John Scott, who's actually from Traverse City.
Yeah.
Well, that's where he resides now. Zach Redmond, who's also from Traverse City. Brian Smolinski will be playing for them.
From Saskatchewan boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about Guy Carbonneau?
Guy cannot make it. He just got with me yesterday, and he has a previous engagement. So,
And then is my assistant coach going to be coming in?
Nick?
No. Marcel?
No.
Oh dear.
No.
Sorry.
We tried to book his flight, and he said that he was unable to make the journey this time.
But that's part of the problem.
Sure.
Part of the process you go through. You ask a lot of people. Some can do it, some can't. Things come up, and
that's the thing. It's the last minute things that come up. For example, I was speaking with Rick Zombo because he comes to our events. This will be his 3rd one, but he has some type of procedure that he's going through on the 10th.
Yeah.
So we spoke for quite a while, and he was just going to throw in the towel. And I says, well, I'll hold your spot. I mean, you've been part of this since the beginning. It's not like I'm just going to say, forget it. So I told him that I would call him on the week of the 17th and then see how everything's progressing. and I'll get his jersey made and I'll get all that stuff done. And then if he's okay, then we'll arrange for flight and have him come in. But there's some that we don't want to let go, but you can't.
Sure.
You just can't. Patrick Eaves last night he had hip surgery 4 months ago, and he just finally said that he won't be able to make it because he's been a mainstay, and he did all the interview circuits, and he's just wonderful to work with. But you can't get mad at him.
Right.
He had a new hip put in.
Yeah, right. He's got to recover from that.
Correct.
Guys on the IR, I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Nature of the game. Just somebody else step up and play.
That's right. So last year it was the Wings against the Rangers.
Correct.
And Dave Lewis, you're not on the ice. You're behind the bench coaching. Tell me from that standpoint what this experience is like.
Well, it's two-faced a little bit. The players just love being on the bench, playing against somebody they've either saw at one time or played against at one time.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie, like I said earlier, it's there. But then all of a sudden, somewhere in the game, the competitive juices start to flow with some of them.
Yeah.
And then it becomes even more interesting to see what happens. And you see that, and on both teams too. You get some guys that are there just because it's a charity event and they want to have fun. Other guys are there because, okay, I'm representing a team I played for, and there's fans in the stands. It's being broadcast. People are watching, and I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to look bad. I don't want to be chasing around some guy 20 years younger than me, and I can't get him, so maybe I'll hit him with my stick or something. I don't know. You see a lot of that stuff. And then there's the odd bantering too. From the good old days, you can yell at players and yell at referees, and you see that also. So there's a lot of things going on sort of that the public don't get to see up close. I wish they could.
Yeah. Dave Lewis is here, Joe Neville as well, talking about the Red Wings alumni game against the Montreal Canadiens alumni, March 15th at Big Boy Arena in Fraser. We'll pause for a moment from our sponsor, and happy to have Sherm's Candy aboard as a sponsor of the Dave LewAllen Podcast. Have a sweet tooth and a love for Michigan? Sherm's Candy is the perfect place to satisfy both. Sherm's specializes in delicious candies, all shaped like the Mitten State itself. Choose from classic Michigummies for a delightful taste of gummy goodness, or if you're looking for a richer flavor experience, indulge in decadent chocolate Michigummies. And for those who prefer a tart and tangy treat, pucker up for sour Michigummies. Sherm's Candy doesn't forget about your furry friends either. They offer Misha-Pups, a tasty treat made just for dogs. Many fine retailers across the state of Michigan carry Sherm's Candy, or you can order online at shermscandy.com. Talking about hockey and the Red Wings alumni game against the Montreal Canadiens coming up on March 15th at Big Boy Arena in Fraser. Joe Neville is here, Dave Lewis, former Red Wings player and head coach as well, to talk hockey. You mentioned about juices flowing, and you mentioned about camaraderie, and you mentioned about stories. That's got to be, from a player standpoint, maybe the best part of all of this.
Oh, it is. In the locker room, which I wish Joe could get a crew in there to just listen in the background to what's going on about, for example, what Mickey Redmond wears underneath his jersey and stuff. It's like, it's got to be 100 years old, and he's looking like it's yesterday he just bought it. Other guys, Darren McCarty shoulder pads, if he wears them. Some of the stories about when I scored this goal, how I beat you, or it's what brings the guys together, and that's why they like doing it. It brings back great memories of when they played. They remember mostly the good things. They don't remember the trades. They don't remember the injuries. They just remember being side by side with somebody in a big game, or scoring that goal, or making that save. And I guess that just what bonds everybody together, and credit this guy and his crew for bringing us on another time.
Well, and that's probably when you step away from the game finally. I mean, those are the kinds of things that you miss the most, right? Being in a locker room, being with the guys, that camaraderie, being part of a team. You lose that.
Yeah, you lose that in once you play your last game. That's pretty much, it's done. I mean, you don't ever get that environment whether it be in coaching. I went into coaching. It's similar, but it's not quite the same as playing. And in the real world, I'm not sure you can duplicate those feelings. Players reflect on the pressure. Red Wings, for example, playing Colorado, the hated rival.
Right.
If you're a New York Ranger, the New York Islanders' hated rival. If you're Montreal, maybe it's Boston, the hated rivals. And players talk about that. They reflect, and even if they played against each other, they remember the good times, and the pressure seems to be all gone, but the stories are there, and that's what sells us.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for fans to be part of something with all of these great players, former great players on the ice. Joe, just quickly take me through the day, because I know there's a sled hockey game, and there's a pretty significant individual in Red Wings history that is going to be taking part in that sled hockey game as well. And that starts at noon on
Correct.
Saturday,
Yep.
March the 15th. But kind of take me through the day.
So noon will be the game between the Canadian Paralympic team and the United States Paralympic team. It won't be the full teams. Not all could make it, because they actually, now when the Paralympics are not happening, they play for various teams.
Mm-hmm.
So we did get it'll be 10 and 10 and a goalie on for the sled hockey. But for the roster for Team USA will be Vladimir Konstantinov.
Yeah.
Now the game against the Bruins that we had last year, or the Rangers last year, was his first time back on the ice, and there's a lot of people there at the rink that got to see that, and it was pretty emotional.
It was amazing.
But to my surprise and everybody else's surprise, he has continued to play for the Bell Tire sled hockey team, and his upper body strength is coming back, and he's able to move under his own power, because he during the game against the Rangers, he had what they call a pusher, which is behind him,
Mm-hmm.
and tries to get him into play and position and whatnot. But the reports that I'm getting back from Bell Tire is that he's able to put under his own steam and play. So he will be representing Team USA against the Canadiens for the 2:00 game. And then after that, there will be an hour of interviews. We're going to have a new segment for an intermission report that we're going to do about 6 times throughout the broadcast, of various guests and hosts and whatnot. And then at 2:00 is when the big game comes. Kara Newman will be back. We're adding Al Sabatka. He's going to drive the Zamboni and do some Al Sabatka things. So
Swing the octopus, you mean?
well,
Maybe, huh?
You didn't have to say that. We got them on ice already, So that killed one of our surprises, but so we have a couple other things that had come about. We're gonna have and don't even ask, I don't even know how this came about, but we're gonna have like a 25-piece orchestra that's gonna be on the mezzanine doing various things throughout the game.
Wow.
Officiating?
Potentially. No,
I
we have just a great officials. They're all former NHL officials. And the best part of the Bruins game, which was the very first game, the most feedback that I had received on that game was their sweaters. I received so much accolades on those, because they wear black pants,
Mhm.
and then they have a white collared shirt with the black tie, and then we custom made like a crew neck from the 30s. It's from 1935, and we had those duplicated, and they're handmade.
Wow.
With the original colors and the original crest of the NHL. That was handmade by it's in the Hall of Fame, and it was the first NHL ref that tried to get them to have their own uniforms. So this was the very first sweater and it's an actual sweater. So it's fantastic, and their name and number is on the back, and it's woven into the fabric. It's not sewn on or ironed on. I don't even know how they do that, but
Yeah.
it was done. And then so we have 4 NHL retired refs that come down, and 2 from Toronto and 2 from Detroit area. And then we'll have another special event that's going to take place, but I'm not. I can't say what it is.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I want to.
No,
really,
no.
But I can't because there's this agreement that we had, and it came out of nowhere. But it's
Well, you
let's
got to
just-
keep a few surprises.
and this is a massive surprise.
All right,
So
all
I
right.
just
Do I know about this surprise?
you do not know.
all right.
Oh boy.
Well,
You
that's
do
all the
not
more
know.
reason to turn out on March 15th then
Yep.
There you go.
at Big Boy Arena.
Just so you know, you're going to have an additional.
Don't give it away.
No, I'm not going to give it away. You're just going to have an additional assistant coach on the bench.
Oh, it's not you, is it?
Not heavens, no. Heavens, although that would be fun.
That would be fun.
That
yeah.
would be fun. So importantly, tickets are available, and if someone's listening, watching, how do they take part in all this fun?
Well, if you have the QR code, you could put that up on the screen. But
So tickets are available,
Mhm.
and I
and
think
there's several different things you can do with the tickets.
right
You can
price
get,
levels that
Yep.
as low as $15 or $18.
I think it's $20, but there's a different pricing you can get for groups and kids and schools and hockey teams and whatnot. And we also have an autograph line ticket because you're going to have not only all 48 players, you're going to also have the 4 referees, and then you'll have both Olympic sled hockey teams there, and you'll have all of those guys that will be signing autographs. So you have that. You have the Afterglow, which is Saturday, which is an event where you can go and all the players will be there, and you'll get food, drink. There'll be live music, and that'll be at the Embassy Suites Hotel. So that's another ticket that can be purchased where
Wow.
you can actually mingle with them, and that is a really great event. I mean, it's just amazing how everybody, and then it's just, you would think that they would just group themselves into, okay, here's a whole bunch of Rangers and here's a whole bunch of Red Wings. But it's just, everybody sits with everybody, and the people that bought tickets are, they're sitting with Darren McCarty and his group. And it's like, it's really a cool experience.
And what about the trophies?
Oh, that's the NHL Hockey Hall of Fame will be there. And they'll be bringing, as of right now, 7 different trophies.
Wow.
Um,
Opportunities for photos with the trophies?
Absolutely. It's a traveling display, and they'll have their tables and their backdrops and all that. And all kinds of pictures. The Stanley Cup will be there. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, not just the game itself. I mean, there's so much on the mezzanine. There's food, and there's drink, and there's a whole bunch of vendors that will be there. So it's just a great event for the whole family, really.
Who won the game last year? The Red Wings and the Rangers.
Go ahead, take it,
And did coaching come into play in that outcome?
All coaching.
Well, as he was saying, there was going to be 4 lines and 8 defensemen.
Uh-huh.
Somehow the Red Wing lineup had 3 lines, and the New York Rangers had 4 lines. And 2 of our players in the top 9 were 75 years old plus. So we had to make some adjustments after 2 periods because we were down, and there was the odd complaint in the locker room
Ooh.
going into the 3rd period. A little bit of competitive juices were flowing.
Uh-huh.
Emotions got a little picked up. So
Really?
there were some line changes, and a couple of the players that were complaining a little bit.
Do you want to name names?
Maybe at the end of the segment.
Okay.
They both scored goals, and we ended up winning.
Excellent.
So, but nobody patted the coach on the back, said, good job.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's going to come this next game. I don't know.
Okay, well, it depends on the outcome.
So it's a lot of fun in the locker room, too. The guys, it's so competitive. And the term was, we're just chasing the puck around. And I'm thinking, well, you're playing against pros
Mhm.
that are the same level of you, but they're 25 years younger.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It's just a good time overall. Right from the very beginning, it's seeing the players walk in like kids with their hockey bags
Yeah.
and sticks, and they're asking, "Where's the tape? I need tape." Like they're not prepared. It's just like
Just like
normal.
always.
Yeah, just like normal. So it's good. It's good to see them come in, and they sit beside each other, and they start telling stories, and they look at you and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Yeah.
And that's a good point because, you think Red Wing alumni, they all know each other. Well, they don't know each other at
Right,
all. There's
right.
so many guys that,
Well-
and they missed each other by maybe a year, but then you got the guys like who would talk to, like, say, Reed Larson. And you go, man,
Who's playing, by the way?
oh, that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
Rito, he'll be there.
And you had said at one point, Ron Duguay.
Ron's coming in. Dukes is coming in.
Oh my God, you
Yeah.
know.
So, and that's the thing. I mean, because Aaron Ward, we were talking, and he goes, I used to watch and hear the stories about Ron Duguay, and he goes, I sat and talked to him in the locker room for 20 minutes, and he goes, he's a cool guy. He goes, you just don't know because he's like a fan of his like everybody else.
Sure.
Even though they played on the same team, but 20 or 30 years apart.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool actually to see how and then the same, the other, have Reed Larson say, hey, I just sat and talked with Patrick Eaves or whatnot. And he goes, but they have a relationship anyway, because I think he coached him in some fashion, but there's that connections that are now being made. And a lot of good things come of that with the younger and the newer getting together, and who knows what comes from there.
All right, so if you're not going to name names, I need another story, though, from last year's game or previous, alumni games that...
No, I'll tell you the names. So the line was made up of Red Berenson, Mickey Redmond on the right side, Matthew
So
Dandino,
85, 70 something.
and Matthew Dandino.
Okay.
Great skater, Stanley
yeah.
Cup winner, Detroit Red Wing, Montreal Canadian.
Yeah.
And Matthew, I didn't see it. He must have had his phone or camera on the bench. He's taking pictures. He loves being with Mickey and Red on the ice. I mean, in 2 periods. And it just got to a point where, because we were short-manned,
I don't know what okay.
we were short-manned, that we had to come up with a change. So that was how we sort of came up with the line change. So I brought Darren McCarty down with Red Berenson and Matthew Dandino and moved Mickey up with Patrick Eaves, and I can't remember who's on the other wing right now. And as it ended up, Mickey scored and Red scored, and we came from behind to win the game. And I guess it was good. It was good. It was funny. And then the other story, Eddie Mio, as you know, is a goaltender for the Detroit Red Wings, but he also played for the New York Rangers. So in that particular game, he changed nets, and there was a bit of a sigh of relief on our side.
He got traded in the second period.
Mid-game, yeah.
Mid-game.
So it was good to see him. But I played against him when I played for the New York Islanders. He was a Ranger goalie, and of course he ended up in Edmonton and Detroit.
Wayne Gretzky's best man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For his wedding, yeah.
So Eddie loves to participate in these games, and people like to hear his stories and be around him too.
All right, so is Matthew Dandino back this year?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so which team is he playing for?
He's going to play for Montreal.
Oh.
We were going to, and Eric Cole was gonna play for the Wings, and then we were gonna trade them halfway through, but I had to shuffle the lines because I had some guys come in and some guys drop out. So Eric Cole now will be on Montreal with Dandino the entire time.
Gotcha.
It's going to be too hard to trade and do all that, so we're just going to go. We've got 4 lines and 4 sets of D for both teams, and everything's set. And because to your point about the end of the game where it starts to get more serious, it really does. You see a noticeable change in speed, in the shooting, and in the passing even, and how they don't want to lose. I mean, Chris Nyland pulled the goalie. I said, this is a charity game, and he's pulling the goalie, and he's yelling at the guys. I mean,
well, at the beginning of the game, everybody knows it's for charity. There's a lot of hoopla, a lot of Karen Newman national anthem, and so now they're just on the ice. They're entertaining. They're showing how they can still skate and stick handle, play position, use their stick, make passes, the saucer passes we call it in hockey. But then by the third period, and depending on the score, it now becomes okay. We're
winning time.
We're either up by 1 or 2, or down by 1 or 2. We got to protect the lead, or we got to go after them. We got to shoot more. You hear that on the bench. We got to attack them. We got to have shorter shifts. All things that coaches like to hear, but the players are saying it. I'm not saying it. I'm thinking this is a charity game still. But that's a fact. It happens.
All right, so we're going to talk about who benefits from this game as well. Joe Neville, and Dave Lewis joining me on the Dave LewAllen Podcast today. So happy to have you along with our sponsor, Sherm's Candy. Sherm's Candy is the perfect place to satisfy your sweet tooth. Sherm's specializes in delicious candies, all shaped like the Mitten State itself. Choose from classic Michigummies for a delightful taste of gummy goodness, or if you're looking for a richer flavor experience, indulge in decadent chocolate Michigummies. And for those who prefer a tart and tangy treat, pucker up for sour Michigummies. Sherm's Candy doesn't forget about your furry friends either. They offer Misha-Pups, a tasty treat made just for dogs. Many fine retailers across the state of Michigan carry Sherm's Candy. You can order yours online as well. ShermsCandy.com is the place to do that. We're talking hockey, Red Wings alumni hockey against the Montreal Canadiens coming up on March the 15th at the Big Boy Arena in Fraser. Tickets available, ghpastorfoundation.com.
For kids. GH Pastor Foundation for Kids.
forkids.com. That's where you can get tickets to see all these great former Red Wings and Montreal Canadiens players participate on the ice in a day of hockey activities at Big Boy Arena. The foundation, a word about that, and who benefits from the foundation and activities like the Red Wings alumni game against the Canadiens.
Right. So what happens is, with the foundation, any funds that come in, and checks, donations, sponsorships, goes into our account, and then after everything is paid, then we will go and then do our selected charities, and it's been the same now. This will be the third game, same charities, with one minor exception. We partnered with the Judson Foundation, which has like 5 or 6 locations in and around Michigan and Detroit. And then the Epilepsy Center of Kentuckiana, which is in Kentucky. And the primary reason that we chose those as our recipients is because we have familiar ties with them. We have people that in our organization that either work there or have kids that have benefited from that and have some sort of issue that they need help with. And so those are the ones that we had selected that we give to, and they're both fine institutions and they do great work. We had a wonderful meeting on location at one of the locations for Judson Center, and you go in there and it's extremely professional, and they do really good work with trying to help and make life better for these guys. And then the other one that we're working with is the sled hockey. We kind of have a soft spot in our heart. They kind of don't get any I don't know.
They don't get the level of support maybe that they
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's just amazing because I did it. I actually tried it. Man, I'm telling you that is off the charts a workout. I mean, my whole stomach hurt for 3 days because it's just, you got to be so strong and power. Plus, you fall over. I can't get back up.
Yeah.
And you see them do it, and they just. Well, you saw the game.
Yep.
It's phenomenal what they can do on this sled.
How they turn.
Stop. And they slam into each other and they score and they go top shelf, and it's unbelievable. So we are starting locally. We started working with the women's Olympic team to support them. They had their very first camp last year, and we supported them on that. So we're trying to give some funds and help the local sled and national sled hockey associations too, to grow their game and get a little bit of notoriety. So that's why we have them first, so that if you're coming to see the Red Wings and all of the great players, then you have an opportunity to see this other sporting event that most people never get an opportunity. And now that it's being broadcast, it's even more. And it seems to be working. I mean, we've gotten a lot of good feedback. Matter of fact is, when Vladdy played and they broadcast, they had it in 7 different countries.
Wow.
That they got feedback from. Said, hey, Russia was one, of course. There was some interest there. But that was kind of cool, having 7 different countries that were responding to him on the ice in the sled. So that brings a lot of awareness to that.
Well, and you've stayed close to Vladdy for all these years and have helped in efforts to raise funds to support him as well. So for you to see him on the ice and be happy to be back on the ice? I'm sure.
Well, you saying that giving me chills right now,
Yeah.
because I remember obviously the last time his professional career
right.
ended, what that week was like, and then to see him again on the ice so many months ago, just seeing him, the joy in his face,
Yeah.
it was remarkable. His daughter was there.
Oh,
She
yeah.
came in from Florida to see it, and I think everybody, like Joe said, just was amazed that he's on the ice, and he. I remember this. They don't change in the bench. They just go to where the bench area is, and that's where they wait.
Okay.
And you could see it in his eyes. I was talking to Aaron Ward at the time, and Aaron and I were going, it looks like he wants to get back into play. He doesn't want to sit here.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to sit here. He wants to get back out there. And sure enough, he wanted to get back out there and play. So for him to do that is amazing.
And we know what a great player he was. I
Yeah.
mean, and if you never saw Vladimir Konstantinov play, if you're younger, I mean, go to YouTube, look at
Oh, boy.
the highlights, the hits and the plays, and
Dale Howardchuk, yeah.
oh yeah, and Nick Lidstrom, became a great defenseman, one of the greatest of all time.
Yep.
Had Vladdy not been injured in that way, I mean, he would have been right there as well.
For sure. Scotty Bowman and I, we talk about that. We have talked about that. And the belief, and Scotty is, of course, more experienced than I am, but he believes they would have been competing for the Norris Trophy.
Yeah.
The two of them on the same team.
Yeah.
Playing together. I mean, what an option as a coach to have you're winning by one goal and the other team's pulled their goalie and you put out Nick Lidstrom and Vladimir Konstantinov, which I did hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, we don't have to worry about much now. And sure enough, for 99.9% of the time, it worked.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Amazing player he was, tough, gritty. And I told you this story before. When he first came here, he couldn't speak very much English, none. Yeah. And then you'd say, good play, Vladdy, good play. And he'd go, yeah, okay, yeah, good. And then you'd say, no, bad play. No understand, yet no understand. So he would use that to his advantage.
Yeah, sure.
But what a great player. And it's great to see him. I see him periodically through the winter, and he's looking much better than he has. And I know my friend John at Sporting Story promotes him and gets him signing stuff, and it gets him out into the public, and the public get to see him, and he enjoys that, and he enjoys the game, and he enjoys being in that environment at the arena, like when he goes to Little Caesars Arena, like he used to do at Joe Louis. He'd come in the locker room and.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, as we wrap up here and talk about, I mean, it's a full day. This is broadcast, but if you're a hockey fan, you want to be there. You want to be there in the arena to see this, the alumni game, the Red Wings alumni against the Canadiens alumni. So let's go through, in wrapping up the important points, Joe, that you want to get across for fans and the opportunity that they have. March 15th starts at noon. Big Boy Arena in Fraser. Tickets are available.
Yep, they are available. We're getting a lot of group tickets coming in. One of the reasons for that too, we have between the first and second period, we have 4 youth teams that play for a 10-minute game.
Excellent.
And it's kind of cool too because the NHL refs will ref them, so they like that. And then in the locker room, they'll get an NHL alumni will come in and say hi to them and sign whatever they want and talk to them. So that's kind of nice. And then there's the Chuck a Duck we have between the second and third period. And there's a lot of the really nice thing too is the auction. There's a lot of we do custom jerseys for the guys, and they'll sign them and they'll be game used. And so then there's a lot of those that will go up for sale. We did have a nice donation from Alex Delvecchio. So we had some jerseys made, and he signed. He's unable to be with us in the game, but he did sign those, and those will go up for auction as well. So all of this is done for the kids, just trying to make even one kid one good day. Then it's worth all the headaches.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge organizational task that that you're involved with. I wish you the best of luck with it. We're going to have a couple of the alums on a future episode as well to talk more about the matchup, but also the hockey stories, which are so great and enjoyable for all to hear. Joe, thank you very much. Joe Neville and Dave Lewis, our first guest on the Dave LewAllen Podcast, back for a return visit. We look forward to the fun. Thank you both for the day today.
Thank you, Dave.
This has been great, and I hope it's a very, very successful event again coming up on March 15th.
Yep, so do we.
Yep, absolutely. As always, we thank you for joining us on the Dave LewAllen Podcast. Producer, director Josh Bowron, also Whitney Hunt, helping us today on this episode. As always, join us next time. In the meantime, stay safe, be kind. The Dave LewAllen Podcast is sponsored by Sherm's Candy, a Michigan-based company that specializes in awesome tasting candy that's in the shape of Michigan.